Oh, happy Monday, everyone. You're in great company. I'm Rae Bonney and with you for the next hour. Today, as always, is about people recognising that it really is okay to not be okay. Now, it's the first week of November and racing straight into Australia's most prestigious annual thoroughbred horse race, and that is the Melbourne Cup. My today's very special guest is Tomas. Now, Tomas, can you please tell me what your surname is?
I can. It's Jajesnica.
Jajesnica. There you go. Now, I had a bit of trouble with that. I was supposed to ask Tomas how to pronounce that when he came into the studio, but we've been rambling on now. But Tomas is a facilitator, trainer and speaker teaching corporate meditation, and he's done this to over 15,000 professionals in his time, and he's so passionate and pragmatic, bringing practical solutions to help organisations create optimum performance. And his organisation's called Mr. Meditate, and they help create and maintain positive workplace cultures by fostering greater productivity, enhanced individual performance, and ultimately producing considerable growth in profit. Welcome to the show, Tomas. I'm not going to say your surname one more time again, but before we start, and speaking of making a bit of a wager, any tips for the Cup?
Apparently there's an Irish horse running, or one with an Irish name in it.
They're all Irish, aren't they?
Are they? I have no idea. I frequent the festival, the Spring Carnival, but I do not punt.
Ah, there you go.
Yes.
There you go. So are you going to the Cup?
I shall be there, yes.
Fantastic. Now, are you a car park or you do get the corporate marquee?
I'm actually in the Crown Marquee. I shall be serving alcohol to the punters and the participants at the Crown Marquee.
Ah, so you're serving others.
I am.
There you go. How did that come about?
Well, through the early parts of the business that I started, cash flow was a little challenging.
For us advocates, it's never a gravy train, is it?
But it was a conscious choice about what I chose to do for quick money,
yes,
or for rent and so forth, and I really enjoyed serving people.
It
just happened that in this case I was serving them alcohol compared to the meditation, which I normally do.
Now, we're going to get into that a little bit
Sure.
later, because we did have a bit of a chat when you arrived about some of the stereotypes around meditation and people that participate in meditation, what kind of behaviours they should demonstrate. But now let's go back to the start again. Mr. Meditate has facilitated many organisations around the benefit of meditation, and I think you and I met back in 2015 or 2014 at the ANZ Health and Wellbeing Expo. That's where we met.
Right.
You don't remember that?
I meet a lot of people. Forgive me.
Oh, thank you so much.
I do remember our meeting though at the WHO group.
Yes.
Which I thought was our first meeting.
Well, we did meet at the ANZ thing, and then we made a meeting to catch up.
It eludes me right this moment. ANZ.
It's okay. It's okay. Don't bore our listeners with our boring stories. But yes, we did meet at WHO Group at South Bank, and I remember us sitting at the boardroom table talking about what you did and where it started. So I'm going to throw it over to you. You're a lot more interesting than I am. Tell me the story of Mr. Meditate.
Okay, so I challenged that part about the being more interesting bit, but Rae, you do. You're on a corporate, or not corporate, like the Beyond Blue circuit and so forth. You are inspiring a lot of people. So, but I shall continue. So, Mr. Meditate was essentially born out of the idea that working in the legal profession, I heard in 2012 I learned that it became the number one most depressed profession. And I couldn't believe that. I thought the legal profession was quite good, highly paid, well, some of them, highly intelligent, highly regarded, well, some of them as well, individuals, doing this depression thing. So I investigated that, yes, that is in fact the case, and I overtook the dentists. And I didn't realise the dentists were doing the depression thing, number one for 15 years apparently.
Doing the depression thing.
Doing, yes, and I'm very particular with my words.
My seat just backfired there. Yes, but it's I think it's more than doing. But continue, please.
And so once I investigated that, yes, that was a serious problem, I decided to understand what was being done about it. And EAP was my response, so Employee Assistance Programs.
That's right, which a lot of organisations participate in. And for people that don't know what an EAP is, it's, as Thomas said, an employee assistance program where people in an organisation get up to 3 counselling...
3 or 5.
Support sessions. And that could be anything from emotional through to legal or financial support.
And in most cases, it's psychotherapy. So seeing a psychologist or psychiatrist for 3 or 5 anonymous appointments. It's like an insurance policy for the company. But it's a wonderful thing.
Or an Ask Covering episode as well. Anyway,
Perhaps.
Didn't say that.
Perhaps. So
you had no idea what you were coming into today, did you?
Well, I'm here. I'll just make best use of the time that I have. And so once, I found out from these law firms what else they did for their employees, and they gave them gym memberships which weren't taken up. And at the time, taking up EAP there's still a lot of stigma. Can't handle the pace, I'm not tough enough to handle this legal world. So there was an epiphany in June 22nd at 7:20 p.m. in the Liftwell. I remember it so vividly.
Which Liftwell was that?
It's at the Victoria Point building where I live in between the 2 NAB buildings in Docklands. And it was an epiphany. It's like, lawyers are depressed. Why are they depressed? I'm not depressed. I meditate. Why don't I teach them how to meditate? And so for 6 months, while still working for the legal profession, I was conceptualizing, conceiving and developing the idea that was born.
And so that was what year?
2012.
Wow. And so the 22nd of June, that was 3 days before my birthday.
Oh.
There you go. Can't remember what birthday that was. And then what happened?
Then I went on a mini retirement, as I do every 5 years. And I encourage your listeners to take mini retirements rather than preparing for the long, big one at the end. And so I started traveling through Central and South America.
That's right, because I read somewhere that you've travelled to something like 45 countries across 5 continents.
Yes, old data, but yes, that's quite correct.
So there's more now?
I went to New Zealand for the first time, all that way.
There you go.
It was terrific.
Oh, look, I'm a great subscriber. I myself throw myself into the world every year or so by myself to a non-English speaking country to see what it feels like being me amongst the throng. And it's an amazing experience.
Absolutely. It's the best education, I think.
Yes, and growth and development and how we see the world. But
well, you just get fresh perspective, see how other people live out the desires that we all have. Love, happiness, truth, freedom, peace of mind. And that one about financial security is a particularly interesting one.
Yes.
Because I've met people who make millions of dollars who do not feel financially secure.
Or secure, full stop.
Or secure, full stop.
Yes.
But financial security is about a feeling. It's about that you have enough for tomorrow. Because you go to places like Bali and the people have very little, but they have a lot of happiness. Oh, little money, but very happy. So there's like a proportion sometimes.
Yes.
So it's a feeling that if you know that you have enough for tomorrow, then you can be fine today and not have to worry about money. You've got other things too.
So how does your work help people understand that there are different ways of being?
So we introduce a method that helps the mind to be happy, healthy, and less distracted. Everyone's so busy.
So busy. Punctuated by the amount of O's that are on so.
How are you? Busy.
Busy, so busy. Do you know what I say, Thomas, when people say, oh, Rae, you're so busy? Because I do get across a lot. And I say, do you know what? I'm just doing a lot of interesting things.
Wonderful.
Yeah, that's all. That's all.
It sounds like you love what you do.
I do. I adore what I do.
Well, we spend most of our adult waking life at work. So you might as well love it.
Yes.
If you don't, well, when are you going to change it?
Yeah. But sometimes I get worried as well because, as I said before, as an advocate. But now, Thomas, I'm just going to deviate just for a moment because I'm spying on the other side of the bench a bottle which has pills in it. And I'm not a pill taker. Don't mind a glass of red, but I'm reading that.
Let me
happy
pass
pills.
this to you so you can read the instructions.
Okay. Happy pills. I have to squint here because I didn't bring my glasses. Helps to improve your day. Open daily or as needed. Happy quotes include each bottle may cause contagious smiling. Sorry for listeners because I really can't see. Can I have one?
Absolutely.
Now, listeners, if you ever get hold of a bottle of Thomas's Happy Pills, they are not for oral consumption, evidently. Because
Spot on. That's the legal obligation.
So they're orange and white, and there's a little smiley face. So I'm going to pull this apart. Thomas, is that right?
That's correct. Like a little capsule.
Right. Am I going to have trouble reading this as well? Oh, there's a cute little gold ring around the little scroll. So I'm going to undo it now. Oh, jeez. This is going to be a struggle. Okay. Here goes, listeners. This is my happy pill. The best part of beauty is that which no picture can express. That's Francis Bacon. And he said that, well, he was alive between 1561 and 1626. He's a British statesman and philosopher. So the best part of beauty is that which no picture can express.
Wow, that's deep.
That's a nice thought, isn't it? So even if I was but ugly, there's some beauty in me somewhere.
What's the but ugly about that? Is that a physical description of you? Like, is that as in, you know, what? I'm not sure what you're saying with that. Like, but ugly. How's that? What are your reference points to that?
Well, I don't know. I think ugliness can come from behaviour more so than
from within. It all happens from within.
Yes.
All our feelings, emotions,
Yes.
that peace of mind that we often pay so much money to get.
Oh, yes. Yep. Certainly don't advocate for that one. However, understand that people don't settle well on the earth and require, you know, intervention to feel better. And, you know, I'm certainly not critical of that, but I guess some of your interventions can.
Perhaps I'll introduce a little intervention method later on in this interview.
It's not really an interview, it's a chat.
Well, no, it's an intervention of stress method.
No, but no, I said I'm not interviewing you.
Oh.
It's more of, it's just
let's
us
chat.
getting together. We've known each other for a long time. We're not interviewing each other. And I will not swallow that pill.
So, can you tell me a little bit about your audience?
My audience?
Yes.
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know. In radio, you're speaking to one person, and that is all.
Fantastic.
So there's our audience. And what I do know is that we do go across to many other countries, LA, London, Belgium, I know, China. So we have listeners all over the place. But when we're talking, we're just talking to one person. And a great man, David Mann, from 3AW, he's appearing on the show in a few weeks. I've known him for a very long time, and he mentored me when I was about 22, so that was not that long ago. Maybe about 30 years ago. And David helped me in my first foray into radio, and he said to me, Rae, you're only speaking to one person.
Thank you.
Some great advice that I received.
Very insightful.
Yes. Now, speaking of inspiration, once you had this light bulb moment in the lift, you've since been admitted to the International Academy of Meditation Instructors as a certified meditation instructor and also a corporate-based mindfulness trainer and teacher.
Yes.
Was that hard?
No. It was a wonderful process to deepen my own understanding of this practice. And it was just terrific qualifications to hear different styles, different approaches, and just have a deeper understanding, not only on an experiential level, which I already had, but to actually get educated about it as well.
Yeah, of course. Well, credibility is very important, especially when you're speaking to corporates and, you know, businesses where there needs to be some accountability in what you're delivering as well, and some return on investment. And I know you do talk about that, how your practice and coming into organisations has a direct benefit to that bottom line. Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. So it's about marrying up being calm, focused and clear with success and profits. When you are calm, you make better decisions compared to when you're stressed, when you have high cortisol levels and your IQ goes down. That's what happens when you're stressed. So when you're calm, you make better decisions, full stop. If you make better decisions, things must improve. Secondly, about being focused. So you're focusing on the task at hand, you get more done in less time. bang, get it done, rather than jumping around multitasking, which is proven to be less efficacious. And thirdly, the clarity piece, so being clear. So having clear thinking, but also it's like a snow globe. You know, if you shake that snow globe, all those snowflakes, it's like a busy mind, you know, jumping around. And so what this process does is helps to put that snow globe on the table, allow those snowflakes to settle, and create space in the mind for new ideas and innovation to come in. Why don't we do it this way? Why don't we improve that? And any organization must have innovation in order to survive.
But what about organisations that are going through change, which is very, very
Every
typical,
organisation goes through change.
which
You're talking about massive change or like redundancies or something, or
Oh yes, absolutely.
restructure.
Acquisitions,
Sure.
whatever it might be.
Sure.
That you've got a population of people. Some organisations, global organisations, will have thousands of people,
Yep.
and then others that are smaller, you might have tens of people. But the human condition, we never know what that spectrum is, and how every individual is operating on that spectrum, and how they sorry, my friend Kim just walked past the studio. I just waved to her. But how we consume that change as well.
Well, yeah, change at any level, really. And I know somebody who had 80 major change projects moving from the old Royal Melbourne or Royal Children's Hospital to the new one.
Yes.
80 major change projects. To somebody who moves office from a 10 person company or mergers, etc. So embracing the change starts with the individual, and then it goes to the team, then the organization, then the client base. And so what you're referring to, I think, in some degree, this fear of change.
Well, not
Fear
necessarily.
I might lose my job.
Well,
Fear-
not addressing the human condition in its in its basic form. So, for example, the amount of people that live on the spectrum of autism, we don't see that often. We can't actually see that. So how do you deal with somebody who perhaps is at the higher end of autism, who is, experiencing change?
Yeah. In my dealings, it's rare. It's very rare.
What, that you would find somebody who's autistic?
In the corporate environment.
Really?
No. Well, that I'm aware of, or that's perhaps on that
Spectrum.
on that spectrum, perhaps, right? So I'm, in my dealings, it's been over 20,000 people that I've taught. I can't say that I've known
Wow.
of a single autistic person in the corporate world or a workplace, full stop,
Or somebody's disclosed.
that they have disclosed. Now the sessions, if you go on 10-day silent retreats, which I've done.
Yeah, tell us a bit about what you practice.
So
Yes.
basically, we'll go back to the start. I'll do a very quick,
Sketch.
succinct version, because I can talk about this all day long. Everyone can talk about themselves, I think. But it started where I grew up thinking that money made people happy, with all the Hollywood posters, the rock stars, superstars. So I wanted to be rich. And once I met a whole maybe dozen millionaires in my early 20s, late teens, I realized that most of them were miserable. And I couldn't believe it. They had the Aston Martin, the mansion, the pool, the tennis courts and so forth, all the bling. And yet these people were miserable consistently. It's like, this is it. This is the dream. So I knew that must be something else. Occasionally I did meet a millionaire who just lived in abundance and just attracted this serendipity and this wealth, this abundance, but was really kind and generous. So that threw my my theory a little bit, but still 80-20, let's keep that rule. And so if 80% of these millionaires were miserable, like, why? It can't be money. So I ended up finding meditation and did a few sort of courses, and then tried all these different techniques and organizations.
Why did you need to find meditation?
I didn't need to. I found it and was like, oh, there's something else.
Where
There's
did you
something
find it?
different. There was a guy called Michael DeMaco Rowland, and he spent 10 years living in a cave in India. And he'd come out of that cave and he's from Melbourne and so forth, and he brought the teachings to the masses, and he advertised on some very commercial radio station about meditation at Dallas Brooks Hall that used to exist.
Yes.
And it was terrific. and I signed up to a one-day course. And then I did his course a couple of weeks later, and we did 4 20-minute meditations. My first real proper kind of try of formal meditation. And the last one was chanting. And there was 300 people in this auditorium, every seat vacant, so there's space between each person.
Okay.
And after 20 minutes of chanting in the room, he said, just keep your eyes closed and just be silent and just feel the vibration that we've just created in this room. It was phenomenal. I bought a tape, cassette tapes back then,
Yeah.
and I chanted all the way home. I just had this frequency, this vibration, and something has changed, something has shifted. And actually that night I went out, had a few drinks, and had an out-of-body experience, which was just phenomenal.
Not due to the alcohol.
Well, perhaps combined. And it was something, out-of-body experiences. I just knew within 5 meter radius around me everything that was happening. And there was a couple of people standing behind me I didn't even know intellectually, but I knew they were there, and I just turned around.
A heightened sense of awareness.
There they were for half an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was, incredible kind of journey. And then I drove past Wurruyalluck in the Yarra Valley. And normally I'd go to Hillsville once a year for the Polish Scouts Day, which I was involved in for many years.
Polish Scouts?
Polish Scouts, yes.
Oh, right. What's worse than a scout in your pocket?
What's that?
A brownie in your pants.
Oh!
It's one of my favourite jokes, so I had to say it.
Don't get me started. I have quite a few dad jokes, which I do use in the sessions as well. But then I drove by a back way, 100 k's an hour, and I saw a little sign, Vipassana Meditation Centre.
Oh, yes.
And I heard about this once before, and I hit the brakes, reversed up, and the gate was closed, left them a note to say, I'm interested in what you guys do here. They sent me an application form. Within a month, I'm sitting a 10-day silent retreat. First time ever.
Yes.
Yes.
So it makes me hyperventilate just thinking about not talking.
It was, it transformed my life.
I know a number of people.
Operation, surgery, yes.
That have done Vipassana. And my daughter Rose recently, she doesn't live with me, she lives around the corner, but she came and stayed at home for a week just recently, and she slept with me, which was really nice. She's 23 almost, but it was a really nice experience. But she said to me, she goes, Mum, do you ever stop talking? Like in your sleep, it just doesn't stop.
Well, it sounds like you have the right vocation. Radio, speaking gigs, perfectly aligned.
Very much so. However, so the thought of, being at a silent retreat partly appeals to me, but then on the other hand, quite
and I remember this moment
distresses
vividly when we first met in that boardroom, and no, I can't meditate. I couldn't think of anything worse than sitting still and, leaving, I don't know. And I think you went on a little bit from that.
For people that, that don't sit still comfortably, can we find other places of meditation? And I believe that we can, because
absolutely movement meditation. There it is.
Well, I was on the train the other day, Thomas, and I get into Candy Crush. That's quite therapeutic for me because it focuses my brain. Sure. And it's something that has a start, a beginning, and an end, and an achievement attached. And so I was on the train. It was a packed train, and I was very engrossed in my Candy Crush, and I didn't know a friend of mine had just hopped on the train, and she came and she grabbed me by my arm. Now, my background, I've got many buttons that get pushed, and one of them I startle very, very easily. So in front of the train, I've said the F word very loudly. And the man opposite said to his friend, he said, did that lady say what I thought she said? And I said, too right I did. I just startle easily. I'm sorry about that. Now, you started Mr. Meditate to help organisations train positive mental habits and increase employee wellbeing, which we've just been talking about. And you're also an avid traveller because you look after your own wellbeing also. But when we went to the break, we were talking a little bit avidly about people who perhaps don't have a quiet mind and find it very, very difficult to still. And I'm one of those people for sure. So how do we find pathways? Because the last thing I'm going to do is sit still and shut my eyes.
Well, you've been doing a good job of sitting still here. whilst you're speaking.
Yes, but my mind is very hectic.
Right. So you're not alone, and my mind gets hectic as well. And I've spent over 10,000 hours sitting on
I thought
my
you were going to say $10,000.
hours, 1.34 years consecutively. If you break that up, practicing this or training the mind. And we all have busy minds, and they're often called monkey minds, jumping from thought to thought like a restless monkey on a tree from branch to branch. And particularly with so much going on, all this information overload that we get through social media and through work and reports and whatever it is that you do, how could you not have a busy mind?
Yes.
And the point is, how can a busy mind, or how can busy minds think clearly?
But when we have mental health challenge as well, hectic minds.
Well, that's my practical psychology perspective on mental health. Is all these issues are created, this anxiety and depression, the rumination and the projection, as a result of fast minds. And a fast mind is dangerous. Jumping from thought to bang, bang, bang.
Yes,
but a still mind is
I remember
divine.
we had this discussion back in 2015 at the Who Group boardroom, and we did have a little altercation over it because I live with anxiety and depression. So for me,
We all do.
I don't stress at all. So stress is not a part of my life. I'm very, very laid back. But when anxiety comes for me, like for example, last week, I don't sleep. So I wake up in the middle of the night, feel like I'm having a heart attack.
Wired, eyes open.
Yes, but I mean, this is a medical condition.
Sure.
So it's not one that's probably going to be solved. And I'll be driving down, like I was walking down St Kilda Road.
Yes.
And I can see trams coming for me to kill me. I can actually see it while I'm going to present to a large corporate.
Wow.
So I'll stand in front of 1,000 people and not break a sweat.
Yes.
But on the way there,
Sure.
I'm sure I'm going to die.
Okay.
So, this...
Don't believe everything you think is what I'm going to say, and the problem.
But it's real for me.
Of course it is, and as it is for everyone else. But some people have it to high extremes, some people have it to low extremes. We all suffer from, and actually no, I'll stop myself saying that. We all do anxiety and depression. This is a very practical psychology thing, and medically there are of course exceptions to that. Clinical cases of
Absolutely,
this. Absolutely. So I'm not disputing that in any case, but practically, for the majority of the population, when you are in your thinking mind with this busy mind, which is, I would say, 98% of your waking time, in your thoughts, like a washing machine tumbling through your thoughts. Oh, this and that, and and the more information and the more things that you take on, and small business owners take on so much, more than most. And all sorts of things happening. It's inevitable that you'll have a busy mind. It's like having a car engine.
Yeah,
like
but I think you're deviating from the clinical bit, though. Like, for somebody who lives with schizophrenia, for example, how do you quieten that mind?
I'm not a qualified physio.
But you're saying for like 98% of the population.
Oh no! I'm saying 98% of the time of our waking time is spent thinking.
Yes, but what about the population though? Because mental health conditions don't discriminate, so you can't, you from a corporate sense can't pick your audience because you
Absolutely.
actually don't know,
of course,
what's behind them. So
Yes.
how do you cater for people like me?
So are you happy to
Yeah.
talk about your case? Great,
Yeah, absolutely.
So are you on medication?
No.
Okay. So are you clinically diagnosed with? Okay, you're
No.
not. So you are suffering from anxiety or depression.
I don't suffer from it. I live with it.
Okay, you live with it.
I live
Okay.
with it. It's quite debilitating.
So,
yes.
so that distinction is huge, because rather than suffering from it, there's an acceptance there.
Yes.
Right,
well,
acceptance, and this is where the meditation really comes in. So anxiety has arisen, right, and most people try to get rid of it because it's uncomfortable. It's
Yes.
you're tense, your mind is fast, and you're about to present. In your case,
Yeah, and I'll just go with it because I know it's part of my makeup.
it will arise, it will pass.
Yes.
And if you have if you be able to train your mind to be able to objectively observe that, like a fly on the wall, you'll watch it arise and pass.
Which I do.
Excellent, and that's one of your coping mechanisms.
Yeah. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. I wouldn't be able to get up on stage every day or
Sure.
present radio because.
But a lot of people take pills for that,
Yes.
right? And I think medication is tremendous. I think that,
It can be
absolutely.
life-saving.
I have taken antidepressant pills before.
Okay.
And before I started meditating, about 2 years before I started meditating,
Yeah.
my mind was just too fast.
Yeah.
At university and so forth, for about 3 months, maybe 2 months, seeing a psychiatrist. And whilst that is so helpful for me at the time, I think it's like going through the garbage basket and taking out that piece of paper, going, oh, there's an issue. Oh, let's deal with that. Then going through it again. Okay, we'll come back next week. And it takes a lot of time and it is very expensive. So most people won't have the resources for it, and the public system is jammed as mental health continues, or the concerns of mental health continue to rise.
I agree.
Highest growing medical concern. Overtaking physical insurance claims in corporate environments now.
Well, no, it's
slowly, or
not really. No,
not
it's
yet?
not. It's not.
On
However,
the trajectory it is, though,
but we're
surely.
forgetting that the physical and the mental are intrinsic. So we're still separating them. But a lot of your physical health claims within the corporate sector will be directly related to a mental health issue.
Absolutely, and stress, for instance, manifests in high blood pressure, and cortisol.
Yes.
That adrenaline, and then you need these coffee hits and you need these caffeine hits to be able to sustain that. And when you don't have those, that's when your adrenaline wears down, you get to the place that you really are at, which is often, when I see people with their heads bowing when they meditate, and that's fine. I call that meditation dancing. I've had discos with my head going back and forward.
Isn't that sleeping in your chair?
Well, that's the point about formal practice, that you sit upright so you don't fall asleep.
Yes.
Even though I have seen it done, didn't think it was possible. Somebody literally just sitting up, head went down, and it was a 7:30 a.m. session, so I think there was a sleep issue there. So we've kind of, expanded into a few different points.
We have. We've pushed the boundaries a bit, which is what my show is all about.
Terrific.
It's it doesn't necessarily have a very strict format to it. So I like that we've gone out into those areas, but I'm sort of hearing now in my head some questions that our listeners might have, and that's how do we do this? And I have to now resist speaking for a while and let you sort of take the reins to perhaps even give me a little bit of a guided tour. And
so your listeners are privy to the first, public announcement about this. This is in conceptualization mode to be launched next year. And it is what's going to be called the easiest meditation in the world.
Sounds easy.
Doesn't it? And to until this campaign is launched, I've often said that meditation is so simple. And people often go, is that it? That they go, oh, right, is that all? Is that all it is? But then I often would say, it's not easy, not necessarily easy. And like training the muscle, like going for that jog or getting fit.
Promote it as being the easiest thing in the world, and then
I'm going to release the easiest meditation practice.
Just
in
leave
the
it
world.
at the easy bit, because then otherwise we just bow out of it.
So that's exactly right. That's what we're doing next year. We're not talking about. It's not necessarily easy part.
Okay, so what do I do? Tell me what I do.
Okay, so it's essentially, let's focus on the breath, because we all breathe, right? Do you know how many times a day the average person breathes?
Oh, 1 million?
That's a lot of breaths. Not even a very high-stressed person would breathe 1 million times a day.
Right, okay, so I've got no idea.
Okay, every 3.75 seconds, the average person takes a full breath. That's in and out. Between 18 to 23,000 times a day.
Okay.
So let's call it 20,000 times. 20,000 breaths a day, every day, right?
That's for an average person.
Average human being. How many of these breaths are people aware of? How many are you aware of each day?
A lot for
A lot?
me, only because I'm a speaker and I'm a very rapid breather. So you probably noticed that I regulate my breathing. I'm totally aware of how I breathe.
Terrific.
And it's the thing that keeps me from not passing out.
Did you know that you are already a meditator?
Really? There you go. 10 points from Thomas.
100 points. So you're, and when people often say they can't do it, is because I often ask, what are you looking to do?
Yes.
If you're looking to be a bit more calm, if you sit for 10 minutes and just let your mind go nuts or focus on your breath, I would suspect you'll be a fraction calmer than what you were, then at least a fraction calmer.
Well, I mean, the health benefits that it has in terms of oxygen into your brain, feelings of control. I remember, Thomas, many years ago, I was about 22 and I had to present at a conference at the last moment, and I was working with Black & Decker at the time. And
What were you presenting on?
I was presenting on their housewares range for the
Okay.
next year, and I was the only person that knew what the range was. However, I was no way qualified to present in front of a global audience, and the person that was supposed to got sick. So I presented.
There's your opportunity.
Yeah, I smashed it in
course you did.
my mind.
Yep.
Because I got across all of the information in the time allotted. And when I got off the stage, I said to my boss, I said, "How was that?" And she said, "We thought you were going to die because you did not breathe once."
Oh, right. There you go.
Yes. And that was the time when I
Quick
learned
lesson.
about
Meditation.
breathing in terms of being able to project.
There are over 200 different types of meditation techniques out there. And you are practicing one without knowing that you are.
Oh, there you go, listeners.
So the easiest meditation in the world, it starts with 1 breath a day. 1 breath a day and you will breathe your stress away.
Oh, but you need to do more than that because otherwise you'll die.
Start small.
Oh, so just recognizing that
Start small. Be focused on 1 breath a day, the entire breath, as it goes in and as it goes out.
Yes.
Once a day.
And I've heard that you can colour it as well, can't you?
You can do all sorts of
Yes,
things.
if you colour the breath.
Like white light.
Yes.
You can get visual. You can get esoteric. You can put crystals into it and so forth.
See how it fills up your lungs.
Right. And the English culture is one of the only, well, there are 45 other cultures that have the word for chi, word for energy, which is this air that we all breathe. But the English language doesn't. We just call it air. Whereas it's the chi that connects us all. We all breathe this 20,000 times each day.
Is that where the chi and tai chi comes from?
I suspect so. Like, or qigong, you know. And so whilst you're taking that 1 breath a day, remember that's as simple.
Not just one breath, everyone, the breath that you recognise. Just go qualify
one
that.
mindful breath a day.
Yes.
Okay? So when you're taking that breath, as you start practicing it once a day, 1 out of your 20,000 times, and a challenge will be to remember to do it.
Yes.
But you can do it anywhere, anytime. Eyes open, eyes closed, sitting at this radio station right here, right now with me. And so whilst you're focusing on that 1 breath, just be conscious about what you can see, what you can smell, what you can taste, what you can feel, and what you can hear at that point in time. Right? Or you can then start to focus at that 1 breath. What is my mind doing? What are my emotions doing right now? And how's my body right now? And
Okay, so you keep just extending.
1 breath. So you can do that 1 breath. But if you like it so much, maybe do 5 breaths. It'll take you 18 seconds.
And would you space those out like over the day?
1 breath a day, start small.
Yes.
And then go up from there. If you start enjoying that, then take 5 or 10, maybe do a whole minute out of the 1,440 minutes that you have each day. 1 whole minute. Imagine
so that
that.
whole minute, you're focusing on your breathing,
So what
focusing on where you are. And Ken Lyons and I went to something a few weeks ago, and I can't even remember the name of it, but it was a similar kind of thing. But we were asked to sit without our legs crossed, with our hands on our knees like this.
Yep.
And just be totally grounded in the spot and have no distraction around you.
That's okay. Have no distraction. That's a pretty hard instruction to offer. Now, don't be distracted. So when I was learning in my early days before the 10-day silent retreats, I went into a session and I tried about 20 different types of meditation with gurus. And once the gurus, they weren't for me.
Yep.
The rites and rituals weren't for me. I didn't want to shave my head. I didn't want to wear white. I wanted to have hair and occasionally perhaps even have a drink.
Yes.
And, that's all. So that was a bit too serious for me. But ultimately, these rites and rituals would steer you on a non-universal sort of path. And they're not necessary. So talk about Buddhas, hippies, incense, lotus poses, or chanting. None of that is done with Mr. Meditate.
Cool.
I'm sorry to disappoint. I often say this to audiences. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but none of that will be offered here. Instead,
You must sell merch though. You must have a T-shirt or something yourself.
you are so in tune.
Yeah.
We're going into apparel. Yes, of course.
Of course, yeah. That's very cool.
Wow.
People love it.
I can't believe how in tune that is. But anyway.
Because I'm psycho. Or psychic, sorry. No.
Wonderful. That's why we gravitate, perhaps.
That's right.
So this breath, going back to the breath, anytime, anywhere, one breath a day, and simply taking that one breath and being aware of what's happening for you at that point in time, which is the one out of the two goals of any meditation practice. Awareness, which is often called mindfulness, right? Which is...
I just roll my eyes and go, yes. Aren't we all?
Mindfulness is a wonderful thing. It's a gateway to meditation, which is the overarching umbrella here.
Yes.
And the first stage in meditation is training the mind, is learning how to master the mind. And if you train the mind to focus on the breath for one breath a day, I reckon you can do two. Just like a baby learning to walk. You didn't...
Yes.
Unless you're different, Rae, and you are a superhero. But when you were born, did you just stand up and start walking and on stage?
No,
or
no,
did you
of course
take
not.
one step at a time and maybe fell?
Probably.
Once or twice?
I continue to fall. But mindfulness for me, and the reason I do roll my eyes is because it's not rocket science. We can... I guess, we talk about distraction and things like that. It's not hard to actually be in a moment. And that's what I call it, staying in a moment and staying in a moment and staying in the moment to enjoy it. And
that's all we've got is this moment.
Yes.
From moment to moment, moment to moment.
Yes.
That's it.
But the conversation we had all those years ago back at Who Group was we talked about, like Swiss cheese. So many people spend so much time regretting the past and so much time fearing the future that they miss that moment.
And that spot on there.
That we're in.
Past, depression, fearing the future, anxiety.
Well, not necessarily. That's where we disagreed. That's where we disagreed, though.
Fine.
So we're going to fight that out.
We can agree to disagree.
We can.
We can smile it out.
And that's the beauty of Australia, which I like to remind everyone on this show is that, freedom of speech, freedom of opinion, and to be respected for that is so terribly important.
Attitude of gratitude I'm hearing there right now.
Love that.
Isn't it?
Attitude
Isn't it awesome?
Gratitude. Do you know we've got only 6 minutes left of the show? Then there was a couple of other things that I did want to talk about, Thomas, because you and I are catching up very soon on the 22nd of November.
Indeed.
And it's an event that I'm helping organise. I don't know how I got into it.
Will you be speaking at it?
I am speaking at it.
No.
Yes, of course I am. A little bit. But it's called I'm Just a Man Gala Ball. It's at Albert Park on the 22nd of November. And it's on the actual anniversary of Michael Hutchins' death.
Yes.
So it's all about male suicide prevention. And what we're doing about that, and we've got a list of speakers. Jim, he is a guy that almost lost his entire life and livelihood when his business burned to the ground last year, and he lost his profile, his identity, and he almost took his life. And so he's created this event to raise awareness around male suicide prevention. So we've got Adam Garoni, who is the Chief Mobro at Movember. He's dialing in from LA to give us a little bit of a idea around, because we are raising money for Movember and for Beyond Blue, to talk about the kinds of things that Movember are doing. They're knee-deep in their current campaign. We have myself speaking, and also Tom Downey. Tom Downey recently retired from Greater Western Sydney Footy Club, AFL, and for mental health reasons, and he and I are speaking together about about his story, and it's going to be a great event. We've got last week on my show I had the Unbreakable Farmer, Warren Davies. He came in and spent an hour with me last week, and he's also speaking too. So we've got a lot of great guys telling great stories, but positive stories about men also matter. Not to the exclusion of women, not one bit, but men also matter. In fact, Thomas, I'm flying up to Sydney tomorrow. I'm speaking at the National Male Suicide Prevention Conference which is to be held in Parramatta. Anyone that is interested in going, just dial that up on your Googles, Male Suicide Prevention Conference in Parramatta. And you can get your tickets there as well. We've got a great lineup. Beyond Blue's coming, Sane, Black Dog. We have a few government officials who are coming to also advocate.
Would have loved to have been there had I known.
You still got time. Doesn't actually, like, the main events are on Thursday and Friday.
I'm actually in Sydney on those 2 days at the Mindful Leadership Forum.
Where's that?
In Chatswood, the concourse.
Oh, where are you staying?
In Chatswood. I've got an Airbnb.
Oh, right. Maybe I can bunk in with you because I don't have any accommodation yet.
From a traveller, somebody who loves to travel and meet people. And I found his Airbnb delightful.
I really want to take that offline with you because, yes, I'm sort of bunking in with people at the moment because, again, us advocates, we run pretty lean and pretty mean. Now, before we take off, Thomas, where can people find you?
Just quickly, the I'm Just a Man event is after I booked the ticket serendipitously, hearing about it. I've actually remembered that it's the Michael Hutchence 20th anniversary that he took his life, and Michael Hutchence, or In Excess, the X Factor tour, was the first concert I've ever been to, and the song "Don't Change" was phenomenal and stuck with me to this day. So I encourage you to come, and just to get together and talk about stuff and just make it real, make it okay.
Yep. Just dial it up, www.imjustaman.com.au. If you're looking for me, you can find me at Presenting Rae Bonney on Facebook, or look up my YouTube channel. Just type in Rae Bonney in YouTube, and Thomas, you'll be up there in the next few weeks. This interview will be up and running. And thank you to my mate Scott Corman from Talk Hub. He produces all kinds of amazing media for many people, including myself and Bettina Arndt and a few others, but he does it with such grace and dignity and generosity, and has a great social conscience himself. Now, anyone who's having some challenging thoughts as a result of our show today, or a result of anything else, don't forget Lifeline 131114. That's 131114. Suicide callback service, which is 1300 659 467, and of course 000. You know, you don't have to be suicidal, and if you're worried about somebody, you're not going to get into trouble for dialing 000. So there you go. You've been listening to Rae Bonney, where it really is okay to not be okay. And I've been joined by Tomas Jajesnica.
Mr. Meditate will be fine.
Mr. Meditate. Remember, folks, it really is okay to not be okay.